Welcome to Coach on the Couch. I'm your host, Jason Zaleski, visiting today with DC Everest Evergreens girls basketball coach, Koleman Schilling. Coach, before we get started, just remind our audience how many years you've been coaching basketball.
So this year will be my third here at Everest. Prior to that, I did do two years of student coaching at UW La Crosse for the women's basketball team down there. And then I headed back home and actually ended up assisting the girls team at UWMC, now UWSP at Wausau. And then I had 1 year as a head coach before they folded the program. So then I ended up here with Everest. So it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, third year. What people don't know is before we went on, I said this was Coach's second year, so I'm glad I asked that question. I was wrong. So last year it was there were some challenges last year. I don't think anybody would debate that. A pair of wins on the season, probably not what you and the girls had envisioned or anything like that. Yet along the way, no matter the outcome of any season, there's a lot of good times to be had. Maybe reflect on one or two of those good times, or at least some of the learning that took place last year.
Yeah, I mean, last year was a struggle for all of us. I don't necessarily count losses as losses as long as we're learning something from it. I think we learned a lot about who we are and what we have to do. So there was a lot of reflection after the season and just kind of, asking those questions about, what do we have to do to change? Are we doing the right things? What do we have to do to get this program back to where it used to be? And so, we took a lot of that time in the summer and off season to do that. And this year has been a big difference so far as our approach and everything that goes with it. So it's been off to a good start within that. And the girls have been really receptive about that because it was a big change. We did a lot of different things. Highlights from last year, obviously, we had the 2 wins, but, during any season, to me, it's not about wins and losses. It's about team camaraderie and getting together and doing things like that, So, there were a lot of instances where we went out and did some activity stuff. I can recall, we'd headed down to Menominee for a tournament. We stayed overnight in Eau Claire, actually. And we spent some time at this place called Action City. So, I bought them all passes for 3 hours. They got to play all those different kinds of arcade games. They had laser tag, they had laser beam, and then they really enjoyed the indoor go-kart. And when we did that, I saw how, fiery we can get and how, competitive we can really get. And once I saw that, I'm thinking to myself, okay, so we do have some competitive girls by nature. Now, how do I get them to do that on the court? And so, that was a challenge. And so far, like I said, with the change coming into the season, we've got that out of them so far, and that's why practices have gone so much better than in the past. But I would say those are some of my highlights. There's plenty more, but spending the time with them, get to know them, just hang out and be a family. That's always fun.
Had 3 seniors on last year's edition of Evergreens girls basketball. What did those 3 seniors do to kind of leave a legacy, and how they helped you teach the girls that are on the team this year?
Yeah, so the 3 would have been Braylon Byler, who's now at UW River Falls playing basketball over there. The second would have been Katie Schultz, and the third would have been Brianna Rux. And like any seniors, you try to let them kind of lead and then show by example and lead with a voice and all that kind of stuff. And it was a very difficult and challenging year for everyone. I would say that maybe even more for them other than myself, because as a senior, you're trying to leave, like you said, a legacy, right? You're trying to leave it better than the way you found it. And so it was very difficult. Winter season's a long season. It's the longest one in the books. So to have to go through that for that long, it gets very challenging. And I'm so appreciative of the fact that they didn't back down from the challenge. They didn't quit. There wasn't a whole lot of excuses being thrown. They just grinded. And again, you try to mold someone into not only a better player, but a better person. And I think when you face adversity like that time and time again, and you don't back down, that speaks high volume to who you are as a person. And so those three, you know, as painful as it was to see them have to go through that, you know, I couldn't be more proud of being their coach and you know, try to keep in touch with them as they're out. But you know, it's a tremendous honor to, you know, be a senior and to have that, to try to leave, like I said, leave the place better than you found it. And you know, it was difficult, but I'm very proud of what they did and who they are because of it.
Coach, you said a basketball season in Wisconsin is long. Depending on playoffs, you might play 5 calendar months. There is little light and little warmth, and it can make for what seems like a long, long season. So with that being said, we're in the very early stages here of this 2023-24 season. Tell us, let's just kind of first start with your outlook on the team and the type of team you're going to put on the floor this season.
Yeah, so we're pretty young this year. We actually came into the season with 2 seniors, 2 more joined, so we doubled our senior counts. We're up to 4, but you know, we got a lot of juniors, a mix of sophomores, and a couple freshmen, and so you know, it's going to be again another year where you're just facing that adversity and trying to get through things, you know, and try to learn it quicker. I mean, you're putting these young kids in a very vulnerable state. I mean, they're just coming off of maybe a JV season, maybe even an 8th grade season for those freshmen, and to put them in that varsity role, I mean, it's a big jump. And so what we're trying to do here is try to make practices harder than what games are going to be like, so that when games do come around, you know, we've been through that, and it gets a little bit more exciting, and we've been prepared for things. And so, you know, obviously youth, but hopefully, you know, and I've seen it, we're 3 weeks in already, hard to believe, but I've seen tremendous growth from them. Again, and it's because solely on the players. They've really adapted to what we're trying to get out of them, and they've really pushed themselves, and they've accepted the challenge. And you know, practices have gone much better than in the past. They're more fun. It's more competitive. We're trying to create that competitive nature where we have winners and losers. All right. So, you know, for me, myself, like, I'm competitive by nature. I won't even let, you know, a 5-year-old beat me in Monopoly or something. You know, I just have that in me. So I'm trying to get that put into them, so that things just, you know, get grinded down, and we do drills to a better appreciation of how we're supposed to do things, and it just becomes a little bit more fun and more challenging, and we're still nice to one another at the end, but you know, to try to really get them to fulfill their potential. All right, it's not, you know, they're all capable of doing a lot of things, but the difference is, what are you willing to do? And you know, that those answers are being answered, or those questions are being answered, and you know, it's been a good start.
Coach, I like the competitiveness. I remember my kids were younger, and we had something called the Zaleski Family Olympics, and I would win them, and my wife would get upset that I won, and I can't help it. I don't know what else to do.
No, yep.
You might have a different answer for this in February. As it stands here, though, in November, tell us about what's the strength of your team. What will you lead with in these early weeks? You know, whether it's outside shooting, inside defense, whatever it might be. What's the early strength of this ball club?
Well, we've had our first game already, and I would say that it's going to be our defense. You know, I've liked the change that we've had and the approach that we've gone into games and practices as far as our defense goes. So I think we're going to lean heavily on our defense until our offense starts to pick up, and being confident what we're supposed to do and doing it well, and being disciplined about doing it. So we're gonna lean heavily on our defense, and hopefully take care of the little things. We've got a long way to go yet, which is great, right? You don't want to be at your peak right now, because then there's no reason to step in the gym to try to get better. So we've got a lot of work to do. We as a staff know that. The girls know that. Talk about it every day. And for us, our biggest goal every time we step on the court is, can we be 1% better today? Right. So if you do that, and it could be the smallest of thing, it could be that you just couldn't do a crossover move from left to right, something simple as that, and then you finally did it. All right, so that to me is you got 1% better today, and that's the ultimate goal. You do that for the course of the season, and then going in the off season and that, then we're really working with something. But to answer your question, I would say our defense is going to be something that we lean heavily on, and then hopefully we transition that into our offense, and then things start to kind of pick up, and we play a complete basketball game.
Coach on the couch with DC Everest girls basketball coach Koleman Schilling. Coach, you mentioned your 4 seniors. As a group, what are your expectations of them that are different from the others on the team in practice and in game?
Yeah, so we kind of have a different approach this year as far as how things go. I'm going to lean heavily on our seniors regardless. And then the 2 additional ones kind of have had small roles in basketball in the past, and they're trying to get back into it. But they're tremendous, tremendous people. And that's exactly who I wanted on this team, to kind of bring, you talk about culture, right? And they fit exactly the mold of what we're trying to do. And so as they're playing catch up to what, they've missed out over the years, there's still people that we can rely on, as practice players, and eventually hopefully get into games a little bit more and get that playing time up. But the different approach that we've had this year is, in the past, I had players vote for captains, and I picked captains. And so we scratched all that. We decided to change it up. And so we actually had the players vote for not captains, but leaders. And so they had up until about, 6 votes of names that they could have voted for. And then I ended up tallying it up. So we actually have 5 leaders this year. All right. One of them only being a senior. And then the rest are 3 juniors. And then we even have a freshman on there. So, we're going to have those 5 lead us, right? Meet the expectations, the standards, and all that, and make sure all the other kids are doing it well. But you're still having leadership from others as well, right? Just because those 5 are your leaders doesn't mean that the rest can't be leaders. And so there's a fine line with that. But those 5, they earned it, right? Their peers view them as leaders. So why wouldn't we, lean on them a little bit harder in those instances? So, they've been doing a great job. Great job. I mean, you're talking about just 1 senior on there, the rest underclassmen, really. They've accepted the challenge. They're proud to be the leader of the program. And they've been speaking up. They've been leading by example. They've been leading with their voice. They've been pushing people, and that stuff is contagious. Once you start getting, once you start have someone kind of get on you about something, all right, then there's a long look in the mirror and say, well, maybe she's right. Maybe I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I should be doing it this way. And that's exactly how you're supposed to do it. And it just leads with being disciplined, right? Do what's right. Do what you're supposed to do. I mean, if you don't do that, and I actually like Luke Fickle's phrase, right? The way you do anything is the way you do anything is how you do everything, right? If you can't even stretch properly and you goof off, well, then you're not going to take anything else throughout practice or the games serious enough. So it's just being disciplined in those little things that actually carry over into the big things.
I like that, Coach. We talk about that all the time. Where else in your life do these things appear? And they usually appear everywhere. Let's talk about Wisconsin Valley Conference basketball for a moment. Marshfield, senior at the top. It looks to be a pretty good squad this year. Stevens Point, kind of always in the mix, and a fairly talented squad. Where do the DC Everest Evergreens fit in the Wisconsin Valley Conference? Or what is your expectations for how Evergreens girls basketball should fit this year?
Well, I would like to say at the top, right? I wouldn't be doing anything. I wouldn't be coaching if I didn't felt that way. So expectations as far as the conference goes, it's going to be a grind. You're playing each team twice. It's not easy. You got a lot of good teams in there. And, you're bringing back a lot of experience from other teams and all that kind of stuff. And every team is always different every single year, whether it's the beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year, right? So what I'm looking for is just make sure that we're competitive, right? If we're going to truly get beat, we have to truly get beat by that opponent, not by ourselves. All right. So we have to do what we need to do. And that's just playing basketball and take care of the little things, right? You win, lose, you draw, as long as you do the things that I'm asking, and we do it with effort and energy, we'll see what happens. But I'd be remiss to say that we're not going to be at the top. Whether that actually happens, begs the question. But I feel good about my team. We got a long way to go yet, but conference is just around the corner, and we're playing some tough non-conference teams here leading up to it, and that's going to set us up for those conference games. And you win, you try to take care of the second one. You lose, it's redemption, right? You try to even the score, and we'll see what happens. But you got other teams that will take care of other teams, and that makes and shifts your standings. So we're all, everyone probably thinks they're at the top, which is exactly where you want, right? You want to fight, and I'm excited. I can't wait. I know there's a lot of teams out there that are really good, and we know who they are, but you still got to take care of everybody else, because everybody's going to have a target on your back, and they're going to look to take you down. So we're gonna try to paint that target on everybody else's back and do the same. So I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait.
Coach, as we begin to bring the show in for a landing, give you a chance to advertise your team here a little bit more. Give us maybe one or two names that maybe people, especially maybe even in Schofield, aren't familiar with yet that you think are going to make some noise this season.
Well, there's one that obviously was here a year ago, which would have been Kirsten Hall. All right, she's a junior. There's going to be a lot of teams that are kind of focusing on her for good reason. And then the second is actually going to be a freshman, McKenna Bolus. She came in and she started our first game, and she did some really good things, and it's very exciting to see that, because then you see the growth that's going to come over the next 4 years. But I would say those two names. You're talking about leaning on underclassmen. That's a big deal, and we've got a great supporting cast as well. So I'd be remiss to say that those two are the only ones. There's a lot of people, right? I talk about at practice, importance knows no rank, right? It doesn't matter if you think you're top dog or bottom of the order. You're all important, and each one of you have a role, and try to embrace it, try to live it every single day. And that role can change over the course of the season, but those two are going to kind of be our workhorses, and I'm excited to see their growth over the season as well as everyone else.
Coach, if anybody has anything to say, send them my way, because I asked you for two, and that's good. And
you did that last year too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, this is been my theme for a number of years now. Lastly here, it wasn't that long ago that people were being told to stay out of the gyms. Something bad might happen if you show up in public, whatever. That's not the case anymore. So tell people that are at home right now, that are thinking about going to the game, that what it means for these girls and for you and your team to have them in the gym supporting those girls right there on the floor.
Yeah, we feed off that energy, and if you actually come in the gym, pack it, and be loud, we embrace that. It's hard. You're trying to get fired up for everything by yourself, but sometimes you need that little extra. And with you guys being in there, that goes a long way. And you see it at football games, you see it at volleyball games. I want to see it in girls basketball. I want to see that gym packed. I'm excited for it to happen. Hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, please come. It means the world to us. You show the support, see your face. It's a great feeling.
Coach Koleman Schilling, looking for all the trees to be in the gym this year. And Coach, we're looking forward to the season. Best of luck this year. Thanks for spending some time with me.
Thank you.
Whether you're just beginning your educational journey or seeking a new opportunity, we're here for you. At North Central Technical College, we have unique partnerships with 4-year colleges that allow you to transfer seamlessly to and from our campus, saving you time and money. With hundreds of transfer options available, the path to a bachelor's degree and a great paying career are just a step away. North Central Technical College. Start here, go anywhere.